Sound check for Cabinet meeting on the 21st of October 2025.
Great, thank you very much. All right, looking forward to a good meeting. We've got two main items on the agenda, and we've also got some public questions, which is excellent. So looking forward to a good meeting. Just to get through the formalities, we're not expecting the fire alarm to go off. If it does, please leave everything and follow the exit signs on the Pease Hill side of the building and exit via the Pease Hill door, then assemble in St Mary's Passage. For members, when you're not speaking, if you can make sure you switch off your microphone so we get the right speaker. And I will just introduce or allow the Cabinet members to introduce themselves. And we'll go around each stating portfolios. So my name is Cameron Holloway. I'm the leader of the council. Councillor Nestor.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Antoinette Nestor. I'm Cabinet Member for Culture, Economy and Skills. Thank you.
Councillor Smart.
Councillor Martin Smart, Cabinet Member for Nature, Open Space and City Services.
Councillor Smith.
Councillor Simon Smith. I'm Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources.
Councillor Thornborough.
Katie Thornborough, Cabinet Member for Planning and Transport.
Councillor Wade.
Councillor Rachel Wade, Deputy Leader.
Councillor Bird.
Councillor Jerry Bird, Cabinet Member for Housing.
Thank you very much. Okay, so to follow on from that, we've got the apologies for absence. We have Councillor Rosie Moore, who's absent today. Councillor Anna Smith and Councillor Mike Todd-Jones will be joining us, but I think they're stuck in traffic at the moment, so hopefully they can make it here soon. All right, on to declarations of interest. Does any member of the Cabinet have a declaration of interest they would like to make? Councillor Thornborough.
For item 6, we're talking about what might possibly be a planning application in the future. So I'm currently on a planning committee, but I don't think that is a conflict of interest because we're currently talking only about a schematic of something that might come forward later, but I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you for clarifying that. Councillor Smith.
I'm a member of the Cambridge Investment Partnership Board.
Councillor Bird.
I'm a member of the Cambridge Investment Partnership as well.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are any further declarations of interest that come up, then feel free to raise them at the relevant item. Okay, on to the minutes. Can members indicate whether they're happy to accept these as a true and accurate record of the meeting from 25th of September 2025? Yes, okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we're on to public questions. I'm really pleased we've got 3 public questions today. So, first of these is William Bannell, I believe. Would you like to... Is William Bannell here? Thank you. Would you like to come to, I think there's a chair there, where you can come and ask your question? Where's... Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, that one over there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm William Bannell. I'm the manager of the Tourist Information Centre.
Very much. Sorry, I
So,
should have said
yeah, I was
if
just
you
gonna
can
say
introduce yourself, but you've, we don't have the questions read out, so you submitted the question in advance.
That's what I was
so
just
thank you
about
for
to
that, but if you
confirm.
can just introduce yourself.
So you have read the question?
I have
Okay.
read the question. We've all had the opportunity to read the question, so thank you for that. And then you'll get the opportunity for a supplementary. Okay, thank you very much. So I'll be responding to this one. So thank you very much for your question, and thank you very much for what you do with the Tourism Information Centre. I know that you've made contact with officers on several occasions, and you've had some correspondence with them. I can see that you run a successful business and you make profit on your business, which is excellent, and that's really good. You explained in your questions of the journey you've been through, sort of taking a bit of a leap in terms of going for this, and it's been a success so far, which is excellent. So thank you for that, and it's a really good service that you provide for the city. I gather that officers have informed you directly and also via the landlord, which is Alia, of the likely decant date from the Guildhall, which would be November 2026. And they've also directed you to property services to look at alternative locations during that time. So I think if you would like to, it would be excellent if you were able to sit down with the officers to work through those potential options. In addition to that, I think they've put you in contact with market operations as well as one potential option, whether you could have a permanent stall. And they've also promised to ensure that your details are passed on to the managing agent who would be promoting the Guildhall to commercial users who may wish to have offices once the refurbished Guildhall is ready from January 2028. That agent is likely to be appointed from September 2026 if at that point Cabinet does approve going to the next stage. I think it's important to note for today's purposes that the Cabinet has to balance a lot of different competing needs for the Guildhall and for the Civic Quarter project as a whole. And one of those, I suppose, is to ensure that the council does generate enough income to fund borrowing costs. Another is to make sure that we have a range of good services here at the Guildhall. So it's part of an ongoing process. I know that you've been in touch with the officers, but I'd encourage you to continue that dialogue. Thank you. Would you like to ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, and I appreciate all of that. And I mean, really the only reason why I'm here is because I'm just continuing to look for every possible means that I can to, you know, get onto your radar and make sure that I'm being completely clear with my intentions. And I want to, I'm trying to work out, obviously, all the different kind of moving parts of this system, the council system. So there have been productive meetings. Of some of my contact has been limited. Obviously, time is limited with all of us. But I'm really just here to reiterate again what I'm doing, what we're doing downstairs, and trying to basically protect what we've built and have it potentially incorporated into the future plans for the Civic Quarter, because I think it would be really useful. And so when it comes to actual decision making at some point, I would hope that some sort of assessment and review and a presentation or some sort of, you know, an assessment of what we've actually done. I'd just like to invite you all again to that, and once again, just let you know that I'm here.
Thank you very much for coming. No, I appreciate that. And I imagine it's been a difficult period for you and for anyone who's a tenant to the Guildhall at the moment. And we, on the plans that we've shown so far and that we'll be going to planning, we've got various areas marked for example, commercial office space and other things. And it's important to note that that's indicative at the moment. So this may have come up in your discussions with officers already, but it's not that each area and each room is set in stone at this point. And so that's why it's important that we continue discussing with you. But thank you for coming along, and then we will continue the discussions and continue our own review process as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you. That's basically how I understood it. So thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to question 2 now. So question 2 is from Jocelyn Scott, and it's going to be answered by Councillor Jerry Bird. So, Jocelyn, would you like to introduce yourself first of all, and then Councillor Bird will answer the question?
Yes, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jocelyn Scott, and I'm a resident of North Cambridge, and therefore have a definite interest in the 80 million development of that area, particularly Kingsway Flats, Arbury Court and Brackley Close. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bird, would you like to answer the question?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. The Cabinet Papers puts in writing that proposals will mean that the new commercial premises are built first so that traders can stay in their current premises. The council have committed to providing a support package, and this will be shaped by feedback from traders. The traders are meeting council officers from both the development and property service team on a regular basis, and a liaison group will be established. This is a commitment that follows the motion agreed at full council regarding the second part of your question, all development projects have a robust governance process. The development team have significantly experience in regeneration projects and will work with teams across the council, including property services, communities, housing management and assets. There is a project sponsor, which is an assistant director. He oversees the senior development manager and other development team members who run the day-to-day project management. Progress is reported to a monthly project board. The project board escalates any risks to a development board, which contains the directors of the council. The Cabinet report is signed off by the Director of Economic and Place, and drafts all discussed with the Council leadership team and Cabinet. In addition, there are ward councillor briefings. The team report regular to Cabinet, especially Cabinet member for housing, Cabinet member for finance and the leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bird. Jocelyn, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
I would, and appreciate the opportunity. I've had a chance to talk with a lot of people at the session at the Meadows, and they appreciate very much that being held, and also people have addressed me in the street. So a couple of issues. Climate change, we need to be assured that climate change and in the environment is being taken into account. Lifts, if there's a need for lifts, that attention is paid to the fact that lifts notoriously break down. The playground, we would like to make sure that that will be retained in size. And the library, if there's any possibility of expanding it to include community rooms, that would be very positive. We're a bit concerned that in the plan it says that the supermarket will be smaller, and there's a real concern that we don't want an express. We want Budgeons. Everybody out there loves Budgeons. I love Budgeons. We want Budgeons to remain. We want the butcher, the baker, the bicycle maker, the greengrocer. It's a unique space, Arbury Court. And I'll just conclude on 2 points. If the Community Executive Council could be involved, we would appreciate that very much, and the Open Spaces Executive Council, because this involves housing, and we appreciate that housing is the lead. However, those 2 other executive councillors are central to this project. And then finally, the point, could there be regular updates to the residents and to the traders? There's a community room in Kingsway Flats that could be used for update meetings on a regular basis with a councillor and an officer, and also the library could be used in that way. So please, if those issues could be taken into account, the residents, the traders, all the people who use those spaces would be truly appreciative. West Chesterton, Kings Hedges, Arbury, and from further afield. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bird, would you like to respond?
Thank you. I'll try and remember everything. But your last item, the next drop-in has been scheduled for Monday the 3rd of November at the Meadows Community Centre. All the residents, the traders, will be told about this. As for the traders, we can promise that the traders can stay there while the new builds are being done. And then once they're done, they can move over. They'll get all the support they need, which is great. And there is also one-to-one all the time with officers for them. As for the Cabinet member for Open Spaces, Councillor Martin Smart, he'll be involved as well. And under the biodiversity, we're working on that, making sure everything's done there, because that comes under the planning bit. And I think I got everything down there.
Community executive.
Oh, and the community executive, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Bird. Thank you very much, Jocelyn. We now move to question 3, which is from Michael Page. Would you like to come to the stand over here, or are you able to speak for now? Okay.
Yes,
excellent.
I'm Michael Page. I'm chair of the Hurst Park Estate Residents Association. There are more than 400 households in our estate, and it's situated directly adjacent to Arbury Court, and therefore we have a strong interest in how that develops because it's a very valuable resource for us and other communities around. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bird, would you like to respond?
Thank you for your question. To answer your questions on the traders, regarding Part A, the Council's committed to improving the same amount of commercial spaces as this is now. We want the new Arbury Court to be thriving and busy and making it attractive to residents to visit. Regarding Parts B and C, the Council is committed to providing a support package during the transition and rent support package, including support during the transition and a rent reduction for the first 2 years to move into the new premises when they are built. Regarding your question about the impact on local services, if Cabinet approves the next steps, the planning process means that these questions will be considered by the planners, and the development will need to make a contribution towards education, health and highways. Regarding our question about governance, the development team have extensive experience in dealing with complex regeneration projects, working with officers across the council. As stated before, the project sponsor is an assistant director who oversees the senior development manager and other development team members who run the day-to-day project management. I hope that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor Bird. Michael, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
Yes, I don't think I got an answer to the third of my questions, question 1C, which I'll repeat it, is whether the traders can be compensated for business disruption, including disruption due to changes and delays in the project. And of course, my suggestion was that there should be something written into the building contracts for the contractors such that if they cause any delays, it should be they who are held responsible and pay compensation. So, yeah, could I get an answer to that one, please?
Thank you. Councillor Bird, would you like to respond?
Yeah, thank you. And I might ask Ben Binns to come through. Like we've said all the way along, that the traders will stay in their properties until the new development is there, new shops are done. Once the new shops are done, all the traders, which are having one-to-ones with the officers, will be moved into the new shops straight away. And the idea of making sure that they have support is like the butchers will need help to move all his fridges over, and all the traders can ask for different things they might need to move over into the new premises. I'll then pass on to Ben Binns.
Yeah, good evening. So I think the first thing that we will be committed to is to ensuring that when there is construction, that the shops are fully functional, whether it's parking, deliveries, and people can trade and go into the shops without any hindrance. And that will need a lot of work liaising with the traders and the contractor that gets appointed at that time. So that's the first thing. There's an ongoing dialogue. So we won't have all the details ironed out right now. The second thing is the contract is robust in the sense that if there is disruption or if there is dust or if there's any issues around delays, then that will cause a problem for the council and there'll be recompense for the council, and we will need to liaise with the traders in that respect. But the first starting point is to try and ensure there's absolutely minimal disruption to traders and to Arbury Court while construction goes on.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just draw attention to what I think might be an error in the documents I think it's quite important, on the risk register on page 27. Is that possible?
Yes, go ahead briefly, but you have had your question, so if you can just quickly
Yes, on the risk register, it says The risk identified is risk of delay to programme due to design team not meeting the planning submission target of January 2026. I cannot believe that there is a target of January 2026 when consultations are going on in November and December. Is that an error?
I don't believe it is an error, but I will just get Ben to confirm.
You are quite right. You've beaten me to it. It's
Okay.
on my note to confirm that error. So it should read September 2026, as it does elsewhere in the report.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much for pointing that out. Okay, thank you for the public questions. We will move to item 5, which is the rent and service charge policy. I'll begin by asking Councillor Jerry Bird to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. As Cabinet Member for Housing, I'm bringing this report for a discussion to adopt a new rent and service charge policy, which has been included as an appendix to the report. Over the years, our previous rent setting arrangements have been quite limited in scope and were largely part of the wider budget setting process led by finance. What we're proposing now is a shift in approach, one where housing takes more of a lead in determining how rents and service charges are set, with finance then implementing these charges. This new comprehensive policy brings everything together in one place. It ensures that we are setting rents and service charge in a way that is fully compliant, consistent and transparent. It also forms a key part of the work we've been doing to put the correct rent and service charge that were identified in late 2023 and to strengthen the governance around how rents are set so these issues don't happen again. I'm very pleased to be able to report that as a result of this work, the regulator has now removed any regulator judgment for breaching the rent standard. We're now fully compliant with the Rent Standards 2020. Importantly, this policy provides our tenants, leaseholders and licenses with a clear, transparent understanding of how their rent and service charges are calculated. It all helps us to strike the right balance, make sure our rents and charges remain affordable, while still allowing us to cover the rising costs of managing and maintaining our homes, improving energy efficiency, and continue to build much needed new homes for the city. I'm happy to take questions, and I have Samantha Shimon here for any technical questions on this policy and how we set our rent and service charges. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Did you have something more to say?
Yeah. I apologise, I haven't added the recommendations. So the recommendations are: 1, approve the rents and service charge policy, which be implemented immediately. Number 2, provides myself as Cabinet Member of Housing and the Assistant Director of Housing and the health consultations with the Housing Advising Board delegated authority to update the policy as required. Provides the Assistant Director of Housing and Health, Strategic Housing Management Lead, Housing Leadership Board delegated authority to develop all relevant procedures to support the implementation of this rent and service charge policy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Councillor Bird. Are there any comments or questions on this item? Okay, clearly it's been well explained and well thought through, and nobody has any questions. Thank you very much for that, though. If there are none, then we'll move on. Okay, we'll move straight to the recommendations in that case, unless there's anything further you'd like to say, Councillor Bird.
No, fine, thanks, Chair.
Okay, we'll move straight to the recommendations, which Councillor Bird has already outlined. So, Cabinet, do you approve the recommendations? Yes, that's approved. Thank you. Okay, we will now move to item 6, which is the North Cambridge Framework for Change. Again, this is one for Councillor Bird to introduce. Councillor Bird, would you like to go ahead and introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Cabinet, I'd like to thank the hard-working officers across the council have put into this proposal. This is more than a development project. This is about regenerating the whole area. Yes, it's about houses, better houses, and making sure we look after our tenants and residents. It's also about traders. And I will repeat about the traders. The same amount of commercial space will be provided. The council will support all traders to continue trading during redevelopment. A bespoke one-to-one support package will be offered, which includes support during the transition, a rent reduction for the first 2 years to move into new premises when they are built. Businesses will have the right to return to the new units, and there's no need to relocate before 2030. We want Arbury Court to be a thriving centre where all residents want to do their shopping or go to the library or go to the park. We want Kingsway to be modernised so that all residents have a decent home. I know this will be hard, change is hard, but I promise you that we will look after you. We have a great team and many residents and traders have already met. We've already met with them to ask about what's happening next. Ben is going to do a brief presentation on the key parts of the report, and I'll be happy to take questions. Also, I'd like to thank all the staff that were there on Saturday at the Meadows when we had the consultation sort of presentation to ask all the residents and traders, were all invited to give their views, and there'll be more to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bird. So, Ben, would you like to give a very quick presentation on this to go through some of the key points?
Very, very briefly, Chair, thank you. So you'll be pleased to know it's mainly visuals, but the key recommendations there are many recommendations in the report, but the key points today is about approving a budget for 206 council homes and approving the consultation next steps. There is a level of detail to make this happen that's in the report. There has already been a consultation throughout North Cambridge, and 4 questions were asked about the estates, Arbury Court, open spaces and streets and travel, and we got extensive responses back. For housing, we were told there was poor housing conditions, concerns about antisocial behaviour, but also anxiety about redevelopment. Arbury Court, valued, but considered outdated, but people were concerned about losing traders. And there were also lots of comments about the open spaces, how we could improve them, and how we could also improve cycling across the area. So these proposals are an attempt to look at answering some of these key questions, particularly on housing, looking at new housing and being clear with residents, but also for Arbury Court maintaining business continuity. We are working with colleagues to develop Shaping North Cambridge, which will try and look at multiple budgets to see what we can do to work together on the open spaces and streets and travel. So just a summary of the Arbury Court proposal. essentially it's two sections of the redevelopment with a park in the middle. So we're proposing to relocate the park to be at the heart of Arbury Court. And the block to the north will be the new areas for the shops, which will then allow traders to move in. The shaded area is the potential North Cambridge Academy site, which is not part of this proposal. They're doing this themselves, looking at that as an opportunity to enhance their facilities on their school. The Gurdwara we are in conversations with. They are looking to improve their temple, and the asterisks on the drawings show potential locations for the Gurdwara and the library. We've got an estimated cost there of 38.2 million, 107 council homes, which would be a net gain of 95. If there was an opportunity with the North Cambridge Academy at some point in the future, that could mean some more council housing as well. For Kingsway and Brackley, we've got a mixture of flats and houses, trying to design in a way that's in keeping with the area. And what that does mean is approximately 99 council homes, which would mean a loss on that site of council homes, and an enhancement of the open space there. There's quite a bit of open space there, but not necessarily good park open space or enhanced open space. We want to bring that back to life, although part of the open space will be reduced. So the key points of these proposals, we've emphasised the traders. They will remain on site and not in porter cabin accommodation. We've talked about the support during the transition and a rent reduction for the first 2 years. For Arbury, once Arbury Court has been submitted for planning, all tenants will receive emergency banding and compensation. All leaseholders and freeholders will be entitled to compensation. All leaseholders and freeholders will have shared equity options, which is already part of our policy. Not everyone will need that. And all residents have the right to return. And then the other point is across the two sites, what we're saying in these proposals is a minimum of 50% council housing. So it could go up. A minimum of net gain of 60 council houses. Again, it could go up subject to funding and how we deal with planning. Maintaining the same amount of shop space, the re-provision of the library and the Gurdwara, if they wish to be part of these proposals, the re-provision of open space and making it better, and a commitment to try and aggregate a number of different projects rather than doing them separately, working together to aggregate how we can improve the area all at once at the same time as this regeneration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. And we know this is a really important project that residents have told us they would like to see investment in the area. They've told us they'd like investment in community facilities, in council homes, in creating a safer neighbourhood, in improving open spaces. But we also do recognise that although we are coming forward with significant investment, that doesn't make it easy, and we know that this is difficult for people who may be forced to move out, whether that's out of an existing residential tenancy or whether it's commercial tenants, leaseholders or freeholders. And so we want to acknowledge that. We want to work as closely as possible with people who will be affected directly and those in the surrounding communities. And we'll try to do the best we can to provide support throughout, as well as to be in touch as much as we can. Okay, are there any comments or questions, first of all, from Cabinet members? Councillor Smart.
Thank you, Chair. So it's probably a rhetorical question, so I do know a bit about it, obviously, but I think it'd be useful to know why the council is proposing the redevelopment of Arbury Court. Councillor Bird.
Councillor Bird.
We're redeveloping it because the purpose to follow after the consultation, of course. Homes need better insulation and energy efficiency. They want a more affordable and diverse range of shops. The library and community centre should be modernised. More social venues like cafes, pubs are needed. Concerns exist about antisocial behaviour, maintenance and accessibility. People want regeneration, but to keep Arbury Court's character and support existing traders. And that's something we really want to do. And also, like we said about the homes are old, and there's no point in trying to retrofit them. They really need to come down and rebuild. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Nesta.
Thank you, Chair. Today, I want to speak both from the heart and also from the head as to why the support of the regeneration of Arbury Court and North Cambridge area in general. When we talk about regeneration, it can sound like a very technical process. We have plans, we have phases, we have budgets, but what is at the core is about people's homes. It's about the mums and dads trying to raise their family and all the residents who live there have actually lived there for decades, and young people who deserve to grow up in a home that keeps them safe and warm. And many of the homes around Arbury Court were built at a time when the building standards were very, very different. Over the years, we've seen sort of these serious issues of dampness, of mold, and the structural problems that subsequent have followed, and the heating system that don't cope. So we've done, of course, what we can, but the truth is that these buildings, they can't really be repaired to the standards that people and residents deserve. And here perhaps what the paradox lies, where we see that regeneration means change, but also means disruption, and that's never really easy. And people, of course, naturally they worry about losing the place that they call home. But then when those homes are no longer fit for people to live in, standing still is just not a good answer because it creates more harm. So, and then if we see things under like a human rights angle, the right to a decent home, the right to a family life, we have this positive duty, okay, to act. It's not enough to say, that's just how things are. Every person has a right to live somewhere that protects their health, their dignity, and their well-being. So while regeneration means something, this temporary upheaval, in the long term, this is how we protect those very rights that were tried and we so highly have it in our sort of minds, human rights. So it's not just about tearing down homes, but it's also about rebuilding home. And if we're creating new energy efficient council homes where family can live free from damp and cold. So we're investing in new community facilities, as Councillor Bird said. And when you speak to residents, you care deeply about them. And it's not about erasing Arbury's identity. It's about giving them the future that the community deserves. So yes, there is this paradox. The change can feel very painful in the short term, but regeneration, that with care and compassion, as we want to do it, okay, we can really support the family life of our residents. And this is why I'm very keen to support this whole plan. It is not just because about buildings and getting new buildings, but it's about the dignity and fairness and the right for everybody to live well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nesta. Councillor Todd Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to start off with a little anecdote, actually, because I attended the drop-in on Saturday for residents, tenants, for commercial tenants, although there was only Mark Freeman from CCVS who was there. But I was asked a question, and actually I found it quite emotional because I've represented Arbury for around 20 years now as a councillor, and I've lived in Arbury for getting on for about 60 years. Sorry, giving my age away a bit there. And I find this quite difficult because Arby Court and Kingsway Flats are, in their own way, quite iconic buildings and areas of Arbury. And I can't really think about Arbury much without thinking about Kingsway Flats and Arby Court. The key thing for me is that I don't think I'm in any doubt that many of the homes, particularly for our council tenants, some of the flats, the maisonettes, are in really poor quality and they deserve better. It's going to be a challenge in terms of leaseholders and freeholders, but I hope the council is up to meeting that challenge. But time and again, what I hear from residents, not just those directly affected, but others who live in Arbury, what often is called by the community the Arbury, which is a far wider area than Arbury Ward, is about Arby Court itself. As has been referenced, as kind of the heart of Arbury in many respects, then been referred to the central space that might become the heart of the new development, but the court itself, which was a vision of its time and is still much loved for that, is nevertheless critical to most residents, particularly the traders, because it's the traders, it's the people who work there and who deliver services to people in Arbury that people actually care about as much of anything. So I am reassured tonight by Councillor Bird's comments that the phasing of Arby Court will mean that traders will be able to move directly from their existing units into the new premises and that they will get one-to-one support, and I hope will be able to influence how those new shops will be fitted out and how they will be able to work. There are shop premises at the moment that are closed in Arby Court, and I really hope that the redevelopment will mean that we can reinstate, for example, the pharmacy and other units that are also desperately needed there. The other key ask is the financial support in terms of the lead-in for traders, in terms of moving, as we've mentioned, particularly important equipment, depending on the nature of the trade. The butcher's been mentioned, the fish and chip shop, there are others will need specialist support. Now, that's reassuring for me, and I think that message needs to be got out to the community because they care about the traders as much as anything else. They interact them often with a daily basis. So I am reassured tonight, and I will be supporting these proposals. I personally have found it quite difficult, and I don't mind saying that in public, but I believe that we have a position here which we can work from, and I will do my best to make sure that we deliver the best result for Arbury, for its people, for its traders, and for Arby Court, as well as Kingsway Flats and the other associated developments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Todd-Jones. Could I go to the Liberal Democrat group? I don't know who's speaking on your behalf. Councillor Dale, you had indicated to speak.
Thank you very much, Chair. Much appreciated. So I think, and it's obviously a number of points have already been raised in both public questions and from the Cabinet members, so thank you for that. I think there are probably three key areas that I'd pick up on. One's a very small technical one, but I think it's already been noted around the importance of new housing. And I think all of us here are committed to new social housing. Under the actual Cabinet agrees, under 1.2, under clause 2, I think there can be a change to the number in units, a mix of property types, is basically under the Assistant Director in consultation with the Cabinet member. I would just sort of suggest that should be with approval from the Cabinet member. Any change to that mix, I think, does require democratic oversight and something that I'd like to sort of see adjusted if possible. I think there are other points that have been brought up. I think obviously the importance of those businesses. I'm another regular shop visitor for the site. I think there is still more assurance being sought and hopefully can be provided after this meeting on the packages that will be available to the existing traders. In particular, I know we're sort of, I'm very pleased to see, following the motion earlier in the summer, that there are good plans to make the transition a smooth one. But the danger is, of course, with any large development, there's a lot of risk and uncertainty still. There's just a danger that things happen that we're not planning for now. And that means for a business owner, there are challenges. And I think we do really need to try and talk to those guys about how we can best address that. Picking up on the point around the shops that are currently vacant, I guess another question is there any scope for us to get those vacant lots picked up now before the new development. There's a real danger that if we're waiting for development, sites like Pucci Pala will just stay empty. And I do wonder if there's any strategies that are probably outside of actually the sort of developers, but as a council officers, we should think about what can we offer new people coming into the area now that might even attract them with the new development. Finally, I guess, just looking at the broader piece, I was very relieved to see that the actual sort of planning expectation September. January has caused a lot of concern, so we probably want to make sure that's communicated clearly. That does give us more time for consultation. I think people were worried this was going to be bounced through. There are obviously certain quite major changes that could affect the sort of character of the site. People are worried about the green space. I'd also note, I think Jocelyn and Michael can probably both attest, with Milton Road, we ended up with a much better project, a very different one, through the work of the local liaison forum. And I think that was a model that worked well. I would hope that within the consultation process, we might consider a similar sort of structure. We have shown we can use that in our area to actually make these programmes work better. And I'll be advocating that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dalziel. I'll just respond to a couple of those. The first one on the amendment to the report, I mean, that's absolutely fine from my point of view. I think that makes a lot of sense. The reason for people who might be listening or watching online, the reason that there is a potential change to number of units is because we want to apply for Homes England funding, and we've set out what our minimum numbers would be, but actually we would like to be able to get more social housing. So we don't want to stick to a number now before we've seen what level of funding we might be able to get. So that's the reason for allowing some flexibility in that. The package for the traders you mentioned will of course be important, and we've made an announcement on that today. We will of course continue to work with traders if this goes ahead throughout the coming consultation period, but then also well beyond that, and the dialogue there will of course be really important. On the liaison group, yes, we will have a liaison group, and I agree that that is a really important way of keeping in touch and also being able to disseminate accurate information so that everyone's up to date and knows what's happening. I haven't picked up everything there, so Councillor Bird and then perhaps Ben.
Yeah, on the consultation, there'll be hard copies put in the library and all the community centres, so people who are not on the internet can actually be involved with the consultation, which is important. The empty shops, I think I'll have to pass on to my colleague Ben to explain about that process. Because you know yourself, there's a lot of empty shops in Cambridge at the moment. So can I pass on to you?
Yeah, we'll take that away and have a look at that. It might, you never know, it might be increased demand, knowing there's going to be people, more people potentially in the area. But I'm listening, and we'll take that away and come back to you if that's okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dalziel. I know Councillor Smith had her hand up.
Thank you. I wanted to raise a few issues specifically with my community's hat on. I did also want to say I think the tone of today's discussion is really positive, and I think something like this is people's lives, this is people's livelihoods, and I think the way that we are discussing this in a non-political way is really important, because this is far too important to be politicised, and I really welcome that. There are a few things particularly I wanted to raise from conversations that I've had, partly in the formal sessions, but also in other conversations. So, and Councillor Bird, partly this is just for reassurance and to put some of those things out there. I'm not expecting an answer, a detailed answer on all of these, but in terms of the library, I'm really pleased that we are going to re-provision that. I think that's really important. I know a few people have raised concerns that because it's, I think, going to be a bit more like something like Clay Farm or Cherry Hinton Hub, where that space can be used in different ways, but it's still going to be a library. And I think it's really important that we can reassure people of that. Having come from schools there was a time when people talked about learning spaces, which basically meant removing all books, and that is not what we're looking at here, and I think it's important to be really clear on that. Also, at the drop-in, it's been raised around how far we can, we've got some of our charity and community sector as tenants already in Arbury Court. It'd be really good to think about how across that whole development we can support our charity and community sector and think about different ways we can do that. There's been some really interesting conversation on that already. I'm not expecting a commitment on that today, but I would like to know that we can keep those conversations going, because I think it's really important, such an opportunity to get this right. A lot's been said about the traders, and I did just want to say my piece on that, because Arbury Court really is the heart of the community. I mean, I shop there. I know that people who live locally shop there really frequently, and it's more than that. It's about, these are shops that tend to look out for their community. It's a really fantastic community environment, and I was really reassured, like Councillor Todd Jones, to hear about that commitment to the shopkeepers, because I think that's really crucial for a lot of people to be convinced that there will be a really, really good and bespoke package, that they'll get all the support they needed. I was really encouraged to hear about the rent reduction plan when the new units are in place. I think that's very important. Very important that there isn't going to be time in mobile cabins. I think that's really clever planning and really good planning, because nobody wants that disruption of going to have to trade in a porter cabin if they don't have to. Because we do need to retain those shops. It's not just about retaining shops. Those traders are at the heart of our community. There's a couple more things I just wanted to raise. I think it would just be important, because somebody challenged me on this on Saturday, and it isn't something I'd thought about before, and I think it's really important that we're aware of it. When we talk about homes in poor condition, I think we do have to be really clear. That's a comment on our stock. That is not a comment on the tenants and how they are looking after their homes. And I think we need to give reassurance that is not, this is about the nature of the stock. It's what we can do better to make that good stock. And talking of our tenants, I think we've got we've got a wonderful team that support tenants through this process. And the team's got so good at doing that we almost take it for granted now, that it's going to be a really good process. And I just want to thank the team for the work they've done on that, because it is going to give tenants so much support. And I think the last thing I want to say is we start to take it for granted that we're so committed to building new council homes. That we take it as read. Yes, of course it will be more provision than currently. Yes, of course it will be really good quality, eco-friendly homes. So I want really to note that. And I do want to challenge the claim that somehow this is gentrification. As somebody whose mum grew up in a council house, why should our council tenants not be entitled to live in really nice homes? I really do not understand what it is about building really good homes for our council tenants that somehow makes that a bad thing. That's a good thing. We're providing good quality. People deserve that. Good quality homes should not only be for the rich in our community, they should be for our council tenants too.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. Councillor Bird, did you want to respond to any of those points?
Just to say that I agree what Councillor Smith just said about the tenants. It's the homes that we have problems with, it's not the tenants. And I'll support any tenant who has a problem like that. No, it's the actual structure of the homes. This is a great scheme. I do understand people are going to be upset. And being in social housing myself, I understand. It is your home, but sometimes the home doesn't do you any good. And also, this scheme, we've got a lot of work to do yet before we actually put the rubber stamp on it to go ahead. We've got the consultations to go through, we've got the workshops, we've got drop-in events. Just so people online know that we've got a drop-in on Monday the 17th of November at the Arbury Community Centre, 5:30 till 7. We've got a drop-in too on Saturday the 22nd of November at the Meadows Community Centre, 11 a.m. till 12:30. A drop-in session again, number 3, on the 1st of December at Brownsfield Community Centre, 5:30 till 7. And we have a webinar on Thursday, the 27th of November at 6 till 7:30. I do hope people can come along. Of course, if you need to speak to anybody, you've got any worries about what's going on, please do contact us at the council and we'll do everything we possibly can to help.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bird. And I know in addition to those sessions, there'll also be direct door knocking, direct contact, and some other workshops too. Councillor Bick, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, like other people who have spoken, this seems to us a really exciting project. I think even addressing Councillor Todd Jones' point, where there are difficult bits of this, which I think I can recognise that people will always have in their minds, I think we should be optimistic about resolving them as long as we can do that in a consultative way over the period of the project. I have a series of questions, if I could. They're quite varied, but I will do them all in one go if that probably helps.
Okay, yeah, if they're not too long, that would be great. Thank you.
On the question of what the vision is that is being envisaged here, there is just one point I wondered if we could have clarity about, and that is about open space. Sort of words like enhance and re-provision have been used, but I just wonder whether, just indicatively, we could be told whether the extent of open space is the same, more or less. Just at this stage to have a view of that would be useful. Going on to some more funding-related questions. Am I right in taking it that the funding of this programme is really being conducted within the orbit of the council's housing revenue account and not the general fund? There is reference to the indicative budget of £81.2 million, which is described as subject to Homes England funding. And I just wanted to probe a bit about what that subject to really means. Does that mean that it's dependent on it? Is it contingent on that funding? What is the assumption, or what is the level of our expectation? How confident are we of it, so that we can understand kind of the robustness of the plan that we're now talking about? And when will we know? If, for example, the leader has mentioned the possibility that we get more funding than we expect, and therefore we can get more council homes than we expect, which would be a delightful outcome. But what happens if we get less funding than we expect? Does that mean that the sort of project that we've got described for us would have to shrink, or we'll only be able to do a little part of it? And so it would really help to understand what sort of proportion of this 81.2 million is the Homes England money. What I'm assuming is, from what's said, but not terribly directly in the report, is that we're expecting another slug of the funding to come from the sale of private homes on the land within the perimeter. And I guess the possibility of some borrowing, but would really like to understand what the sort of shape of this at this stage was expected to be. There is a reference to the KIP in the report as the possible developer, but it seems like we're not at this stage saying that they are the developer. But then a lot of words are used about how that will work if it is the KIP, so I kind of get the message where this is probably going. If it is the KIP, then the report refers to transferring the land within the lines on the plan to the KIP, and then buying back the 206 affordable homes, which I think is the kind of model that has been used elsewhere. But there's no reference to the commercial premises, the shops that everyone's talked so much about. So are they bought back by the housing revenue account? Is it 206 affordable homes plus the commercial premises? And if it isn't, why doesn't it say so? And if it isn't, who will own those going forward? Who will be collecting the rents for those? Because I think there has been sort of some established understanding that they are under the council's landlordship, and people, I think, would like to know if there was going to be some change in that. So quite a lot of questions there, but I wonder if that could be I could be helped in understanding all that.
Yep, they're helpful questions. Thank you. So I will pass over to Ben to give us some responses. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the first question about open space for Arbury Court, it's very much the re-provision of what's there. I think it's slightly increased. We're also looking at enhancement on top of that. So the local plan makes very clear if there's open space that is technically or planning related protected, then if you reduce it, you need to demonstrate enhancement. So on Arbury Court, it's very clear we are re-providing what's there, maybe slightly more in terms of the quantum, plus an enhancement. For Kingsway, as stated on the presentation, there is a reduction in open space. The open space that's there currently round Kingsway and just north of Brackley Close is essentially just grass. There isn't a play area or is there anything there. So we would have to demonstrate to the planning committee and our planning colleague there would be an enhancement to offset any loss. It's a small loss, but nevertheless it's a loss. So I hope that answers that question on that point there. So Arbury Court, no loss of open space. On Kingsway, there is a small loss, but we'd have to demonstrate enhancement. We're going to do enhancement on Arbury Court as well. The funding is HRA funded in terms of it's in the HRA, not general fund, and that includes the commercial premises, and we've assumed that in our financing. That also, the second part of that assumption is that the council will continue to own those premises, the commercial premises, because it unlocks the regeneration. So there are rules around that, but you are allowed to do that sort of financially, and we'll have to work out the detail on that, but that's assumed in the price, in the cost. You asked a question about Homes England funding. So at the moment, we are hopeful, we will certainly be committing to a bid for a strategic partnership with Homes England. That will allow a bit more flexibility in the funding mechanism, which will help us plan ahead, because it will say if you can achieve X number of council homes, you will receive X amount of funding for the 5-year programme. That's by no means guaranteed, but we're in a strong position in order to get that. If we don't get that funding, we'll know by spring next year. The usual channels of funding through what's called CM, through a sort of scheme-by-scheme basis, that will still be possible for the council. Alongside this, there is some work being done with the HRA budget to consider, for example, a number of government policies on things such as the right to buy that's changed, the rents, what they call CPI +1, another whole host of technical aspects that will impact the 30-year business plan, and so that will demonstrate what levels of headroom there are. So those, we're pretty confident we'll get Homes England funding one way or another. The question is how much, and the question is in what form. It's a question I can't answer right now. If there is a need to modify plans, and of course we'll probably need to come back to Cabinet, we'll certainly have a discussion around that. But what we want to do is put the council in the best position to obtain that Homes England funding by showing that we are ready with proposals. The question on KIP This is just to allow most of our developments right now are through KIP, and as you write about the land transfer, that's standard approach. It's land sold to KIP, the council buys back the affordable. That is the assumption here. In order, because of new procurement regulations, we're just making sure that there's a little bit of wiggle room if that's required, but we do anticipate that if approval is given, this is likely to be a KIP scheme.
Thank you, Ben. Just as an explanation for members of the public, so KIP, the Cambridge Investment Partnership, is a partnership between the City Council and Hill, the developer. It's a way that we fund council homes. So it's quite difficult to build council homes. It's quite difficult to make it stack up financially. We therefore have this partnership, which means that through selling some market homes, we can fund more council homes. Okay, I saw Councillor Bennett will go to first.
Thank you, Chair. My question's going to be a lot shorter because other people have already asked part of it, which I think is good. I think I can hear from what Ben has said that some of the lessons from Colville Road and Barnwell Parade have been learned, that there's greater understanding that any move for a small business is an existential threat, and that we need to do more to support businesses through that, because nobody wants to Arbury to end up as a dormitory suburb rather than a community. But I would like to press you, officers particularly, to look at some extra steps to support businesses. And these might even end up saving the council money, because it enables businesses to protect themselves better. And that is a recognition that smaller businesses do not have the access to the in-house skills that, say, mid-tier chains like Wetherspoons, Luminar, Whitbread, to name a few, have. There they have people who spend their entire time relocating and reopening new properties. And what businesses need that are facing a disruption is to plan ahead and to work with a multidisciplinary team headed by a business recovery specialist to do cash clinics and profit clinics, and look at an e-commerce strategy. And if they do that, they will be better equipped to handle the disruption, and they may even need less resources from the council. So I'd like to urge the officer team to consider that, because I think we're all speaking from the same page. Everybody wants the businesses to be preserved. Nobody wants to end up with a dormitory suburb. We know how dependent elderly people, families, and the disabled are on having local shops and services. And we also know from the empty properties around the city that we're beginning to see that there isn't a queue of people rushing to take up vacant tenancies. So we have to look after the business tenants we have, because there aren't more waiting in the wings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. I think, as you said, we all agree that keeping the businesses at Arbury Court in business will be incredibly important, and we want to do as much as we can to support that. Thank you for the recommendation that you made. I think that's one maybe for officers to take away and think about rather than necessarily responding to now, but that's helpful. Thank you. Councillor Thornborough.
Thank you. It's a really interesting presentation and conversation. I just want to pick up on what Councillor Nestor and Councillor Smith were saying about the existing buildings and the quality of the new buildings, because as you go round there now, I think you can see that there's concrete which is spalling off the balconies in some areas, and it's exposing the reinforcing bars, and that's because of the period that they were built and the speed that it was built and the cover on the concrete. And I can also see that the council have already involved in trying to prevent that and making sure the buildings are safe. So that's quite an investment, just keeping it as it is. And as Councillor Nestor was saying, that these concrete buildings gets to a stage where they're really unviable because of the escalating repairs. And if you try to retrofit them, you'd have really bad problems with cold bridging and things like that. So it is the right thing, I agree, to take these down and provide new homes. And the new homes, as Councillor Smith was saying, this isn't gentrification. We're building to the standards that are required now, and to the policies that are required now. I know in my ward there are residents who've moved from Hanover Court to the ironworks, and they had the opportunity to move as a community, and it has transformed their lives. The quality of the building, the wide doorways, just the space standards. It's not, and it is high, but it's why all our residents are actually getting some of the best quality housing in the city, because of the standards that we've chosen to build to and the new building regulations. And I think that's something we should all be really proud about. And why not? Council housing's some of the best in the city. I think I'm really pleased that this is going to go out to consultation. I know that the community they've had two consultations. One was for the North Cambridge Design Code, SPD, and then the one you've just had. And I'd like to know if the North Cambridge Design Code is being used. And also I'd like to know, I'd like to hear about in the future how many homes will be wheelchair adapted, because we're bringing in new homes, we'll be bringing that in. And I'm looking forward to the outcome of the consultation and how that will feed into planning application and all the detail that will come through with that, and hope that we can be involved. Finally, one last thing, I'm also really pleased about Woodhouse Way for the pod housing for reducing homelessness. And I know you, Councillor Bird, have been really encouraging and supporting these pod homes, and there's quite a few in the north which show, and they seem to be really successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thornberry. Did you want to respond to some of those, Councillor Bird?
Well, I have to agree with what Councillor Thornberry said. They are in a bad state. And yes, the modular homes, it's fantastic news. We've got 6 being put in with partnership with It Takes City, and they'll be at Woodhouse Way. And like I've always said at these meetings, if you know of any spare land, let us know so we can fit in some more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bird. Councillor Bajan, did you have a question?
I think it's absolutely fantastic that we're going to be building some more new homes for council homes. I think it's a wonderful thing that this council's done. It has an amazing track record for building council houses or council homes. It's strange. I couldn't help laughing, and I'm going to share this a bit. When we talk about our homes, it's a bit like a used car salesman, isn't it? Before we replace them, they're good homes, they're solid homes, and they're fantastic. And then when we want to replace them, they have bits of concrete falling off of them. And I'm not being cynical here. I just think, you know, it's time for these houses or flats to be rebuilt, and I totally agree about that. So no flat from me on that particular issue. But as we know, when we rebuilt or plan to rebuild Eakin Road, and there's other developments that have gone on, there is often a discontent that grows on the site. We've claimed to have support for the plan. There's been a consultation. I think the number was 383 people replied. That's not a lot of people, that's not a lot of consent. It isn't, no doubt, when you go through it, a majority. But it doesn't mean that the Arbury or that Cambridge has actually signed up for this. And maybe using it as such is not the best way. My thoughts are to perhaps avoid any discontent and any arguments. I mean, I got quite involved in the Eakin Road problems about a couple of houses that we didn't really take too much notice of. And it was a bit sad because a whole development that was going to be very good became very contentious and people got angry and flags were flown and all sorts of things. So maybe it would be a good idea if right at the beginning you did a poll of the people that lived there and asked them, are they happy to be moved out of their homes and, you know, frame it. I'm not going to try and frame the question, but would they support it? And if they vote to support it, then a lot of the canker and the rancour and all the problems that may come up with shouts of no gentrification could possibly be done away with. So I'd like people to think about whether that would be a good idea. There's reasons why you might not want to do it, but there's lots of reasons why it will put to one side all the anger that builds up because people get angry over here and then people get angry with them and they get angry with these. And we saw that Eakin Road in a big way. I mean, I don't know, 3, 4 consultations at Eakin Road. And then in the end, the council caved in and didn't have a problem with allowing the people in the houses that were causing all the trouble to stay. So maybe that could be avoided if we had a poll right at the beginning. Can I make a point also comes up in the debate about this gentrification? It's not a complaint about people being given good homes. It's a complaint about council land being sold for private use. And that's what gentrification means to the people that are calling it out. If you were to talk to them, that's what they'd tell you. So maybe you don't want to go down a bunny rabbit hole like that one.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
No, I
Baker.
haven't quite finished.
Are you going to come to your question?
Well, I think my question was there. Why not have a ballot?
Okay.
My next question, why not ask the government for 100% funding? Why not build all council homes? Why go along the line where you do go for gentrification and sell council land for the reasons that may seem good on a capitalist budget sheet, but we have a Labour government. It's your Labour government. It was my Labour government. They claim to build houses. They want to build more houses. Why not ask for 100% council homes? So that's my second question, Chair.
Thank you. How many questions do you have?
Oh, I didn't know I was limited on questions. You better warn me next time. Yeah, I mean, I missed out last time, so you owe me a bit of time, really.
You've already had 2, so we'll have 1 more.
Okay, 1 more, okay. There's another paradox. If the people who live here are the people that form the community, why are you not offering them the right to come back? No, I don't think that's written in the papers. I don't think I saw it there. Oh. Okay, so I have an undertaking, absolutely, from the Lib Dems and the Greens and the Labour Party and the officers and the head of the council, that people will be allowed to come back home. So I suppose I'm not asking that question anymore then.
No, that was it. Just because you ask a bad question doesn't mean that you get another question. So thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Bajan. You've asked
Can I just have one quick question?
That's right. No, you can.
I want to know
you
what
can ask it outside of the meeting.
It's only about the share of, it's easy to answer. How many of them are going to be council homes, council rents, and how many of them are going to be affordable? That's an easy question to answer.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Bajan. You've asked several questions there. So just for those online who may not have heard in the chamber, to that final question, there was a response that yes, everyone who's being moved out will have the right to return if they want to their new homes once those are in place. So, but thank you for asking that to clarify that point. On the question of a poll, I think you suggest that that might get rid of anger. I actually think that that would, if anything, do the opposite. If when we look at elections and polls and referenda and these kinds of things, we know that they actually, if anything, inflame situations rather than the opposite. So what we've tried to do is go around knocking on people's doors, go around calling people, speaking to people directly, and we'll continue to do that. And that means that we can get people's views in a situation that's not got the heightened tension of a very binary poll, which I think could actually make the situation far worse. I can see the attraction of it, but I do think that actually the longer, slower approach where we go and speak to people, hear what they have to say on a one-to-one basis is going to be a better option, as well as the continued engagement at the types of events that Councillor Bird has mentioned. But I appreciate your suggestion. The other points you made about numbers of council homes, I think we've covered already that we won't know exactly. We've set out a minimum, but we won't know exactly because of funding, and we will be applying for as much funding as we can get, and that will in a large part determine what we're able to do in terms of the number of homes that are at social rent or at affordable rents, and then the number of market homes. You're right that it's not a perfect situation, that the one that we've described earlier about having this KIP, the Cambridge Investment Partnership, where we work with Hill and we have market homes paying for council homes. Of course, it would be fantastic to have all council homes, but there aren't that many councils in the country that are building council homes at all. We are one of the best council home builders in the country, and it's only through this programme that we've managed to sustain that in recent years. That is really important for all those people who are on our waiting list. It's also really important for those who may be in the future, and so we're really committed to that programme. It may not be the absolute ideal way of doing it, but we don't live in an ideal world, and we want to do that as best we can. Councillor Bird, would you like to come in with any further comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to say to Councillor Bajan, every development we've done, Councillor Bajan, the tenants who've had to be moved out have had the opportunity to move back into the new properties, every single one. So that we must push, and we've always pushed it, because, you know, I worry because I want more council homes, but I know we can't do it. The government are not giving us the money that was promised, and we've still got our fingers crossed that it might come. So Homes England have done us really proud. They've helped us a lot to build what we've built already. So if we get the funding this time, it'll be fantastic. And like Ben said, he thinks that we will get it. So everybody keep your fingers crossed for us, please, so we can build more councils.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Bajan. People won't have necessarily heard that question, but it was just going back to your question about the applying for funding for 100% council homes. We haven't determined exactly what funding we will apply for yet and what we will be able to apply for. So that's a conversation we'll keep having over the next few months. Yeah. I had Councillor Simon Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to raise this point about gentrification and the fact that part of these sites are being sold off for market housing. But when you look at the numbers, there'll be more council houses than there are now. So the argument about gentrification just falls away, and I'm absolutely baffled as to why opposition parties keep raising this, because it makes no sense whatsoever.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Wade.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, just interesting to listen to the debate. And as part of that debate, I'd like to offer some more reassurance, if you like, that we will continue to listen to concerns of the traders. My husband was in fact part of that community for some 30 years, so I have some understanding of the commercial pressures there. So working with those that are starting this process of looking at possible huge life change, which is unsettling, is what we're all attesting to tonight. People will have questions that need clear answers, and I hope people are reassured by the discussion tonight that we are going to ensure that we give those answers as the consultation continues. We are seeking to build new homes to reinvigorate the area, as people have asked. It is a close, caring community, the court. There is much to be learnt there from the human relationships, which are essentially more than the bricks and mortar that need replacing. Those that speak or seek to speak for the people of Arbury are well-meaning, but ultimately it can feel rather condescending at times, because there is sometimes an assumption that people are not able to speak for themselves. I worked at the Meadows Community Centre. I know that the people of Arbury are very able to speak eloquently and powerfully for themselves. And I and my colleagues will listen to and continue to listen throughout this process of consultation, particularly my colleagues who represent residents, to listen and understand their concerns and not let their voices be drowned out by other actors who have their own agendas sometimes. People tell us that they want better housing conditions. They want new council housing. They want new, better facilities for their children and for young people. They want a fair start for their children, and they want hope for the future. So this is not about a quick headline or a photo opportunity for a politician. This is about building homes and a cohesive, caring community, and carrying on with that cohesive, caring community, putting the work in, which is a long-term process, investing in the people and the families that want to live peaceably alongside their neighbours for their kids to flourish and grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. That's a powerful and I think fitting end to what's been a really good debate today on a very important topic. Thank you, everyone. Councillor Bird, do you have any further final comments before we move to the vote?
No, I don't actually. I think everything's been said. We will look after the traders, we'll look after the leaseholders, the freeholders and the tenants, which is very important. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bird. Okay, in that case, we will move to the vote. The recommendations are on pages 30 to 32. Do we agree the recommendations? Yes, that is agreed. Thank you very much, Cabinet. Thank you very much, everyone, for a very good debate. This isn't just the decision made now and that's it. This is the start of a long process of engagement and hard work, and we commit to working very closely with the community, very closely with everyone who's affected, and trying our very best to support you through what we know can be a difficult process. So thank you very much to everyone involved. Okay, that's the final item of this meeting.